This D8K needs an oil change throughout. I'm talking engine, transmission, clutch because this is a direct drive, cross shaft, and final drives. Now the clutch, transmission, and cross shaft are all the same oil, and they all lubricate with the same system. It's the same is true with the power shift. Like, although this is a direct drive, the power shift D8Ks use exactly the same oil and the same procedures. So let's get started. Okay, in this hole here, you see it's full of dirt. I've been stuck a time or two since the oil was changed last, but in this hole here is in the belly pan. The power shifts are exactly the same. This is your clutcher on the power shift, the torque converter. That's where you drain them at. They hold about a pail of oil, and everything else is drained out of the main hole in the back. Okay, I think I got the clutch plug exposed now. I've got to pop it loose, and you just use a 3/4 drive ratchet with an extension, and it'll fit in the plug nicely. If your cat doesn't have that, some of them are a hex, get the 3/4 drive one. It makes it a lot easier. A little tough. I'll get behind it and put some pressure on it. There it is, it's coming loose. Get loose a few threads so I can take it by hand. Okay, there it is. Now I got a big ass drain tub on wheels. I'll pull underneath. Go. That'll catch it right there. Sleeves rolled up. There it is. This is not the kind of job for a liberal buttercup. You get your hands dirty doing this kind of work. You see there wasn't a lot come out of there. And there never is. A torque converter holds about the same, about 3-4 gallons. Like, you could catch it in the pail, but the back you can't catch it in the pail. I used to go between seven pails all the time, and that's not easy. This big tub we built, it works way better. Now there are plugs on each side of the steering clutch compartments. You can drain them if you want to, but they don't hold much oil. On the low horse D8, they do hold a lot of oil. But on a high horse D8 or K or most 7s or 6s or 9s, all of them, you don't have to touch these as a rule. You can drain them if you want, but they hold so little oil in the grand scheme of things that they don't really have to be touched. This does drain. This drains the rest of the oil right here. This is what you use to drain the oil. This is the main transmission. All the transmission and the steering clutch compartments will drain out of here, other than those two small ones, which we don't bother with. There's even a little plug here. There again, I don't usually touch it. So I'll put GoPro upside down. Then I gotta loosen the plug off. Then I gotta pull my tub back so it catches it, because it sprays all a long ways, and they could really spray a long ways. Mine is even worse because they're so bloody high. There again, trusty 3/4 drive ratchet. These are tight, they have to be. Okay. Yeah, it'll come out with my fingers now. Okay, it should be back far enough that I can barely reach it, but the way it's gotta be because it shoots out a long ways. There it is. There goes the transmission foot and steering clutch oil. Okay, this pentagonal thing is the transmission filter housing. Now the D8Hs, the earlier ones, and some of the others have just the 4-bolt one. These are pentagonal. Underneath there's a plug on them, but the only way you could really get that to drain it is if you pull the belly pan. I'm not gonna do it. I'll drain it a different way. I don't think my little driver will touch it, but I may have to crack it with the big ratchet. You never know, these put out pretty good. No, it is doing it. There we go. Now pull the filters out. There's cartridge type filters in here. There we go. I think my O-ring's getting bad too, actually. There we go. Lift it up. There we go. There we go. Put it into an open pail, a clean open pail for now. And I'll take these out and change them. If at first you don't succeed, either try again or try something else. This ain't working too bad. I'll shut this off. You don't need to see me do every step, do you? Okay, now I'll take the filters off, and it's easy. It's just a 3/4 inch wrench. It comes easy. These are a lock nut because they can't be that tight. First nut and the cap with one of the filters. Yeah, that'll wash it. Then this spacer, then another filter, and that's all there is to these. I'm gonna wash this before I put it together though. Okay, I don't know how well you're gonna see it. I'm doing it in here. I put this O-ring here, I oiled it. This is the one that seals the housing to the outside. Okay, and the part number is 2K4472. Okay, this O-ring here, it doesn't seal it from leaking, but it seals the top oil from the bottom kind of thing, the filtered oil from the unfiltered oil. And this one, the part number I had it. It's 6D9157 is what the part number of this one is. So put it on. I don't think I have to change this one this time. The other one I sure did, because it was getting awfully flat. Okay, now for the oil filters. They call them hydraulic oil filters, but that's what Cat recommends for the transmission. The part number is 1R0741. That takes 2 of them. Take one, put the first one on. These have a center in them, so you gotta make sure this lines up. Put it down. And then the next piece we need is this silly thing here. This goes. And I'll open up the second filter. Put this on here next. This is the cover. What did I do with my nut? Nut on. These have to be a self-locking nut because of course you can't tighten them to 75 foot-pounds to keep them from backing off, or can you compress a lock washer enough to make them work. So, and you just tighten them like that. Okay, time to put her back in. Hope I didn't cut the ring. I let it down harder than I ought to. Are you done with the filter? No, am I done with filters? Absolutely not. There's this one. This is a magnetic one. This is actually tighter than the big one. These are only 3/8 bolts in here. Or 3/8 studs, and you don't want to set these too tight because the housing's aluminum and you can strip that easy. It's cast aluminum, which is the worst kind. There it is. There's that one and there's that one. That time I got a stud. That time I got a nut. So 3 out of 4 coming out the way they should isn't bad. Now, pull this out. And here we go. This is our magnetic. And because this is a direct drive, I anticipate more shit getting in there because it just does. However, this is not bad at all. I'm going to clean this off camera and then put everything together. This is crucial. Every time you clean that screen, change this O-ring. Part number is 5F0149. And if you don't change this and it leaks even a bit, this is on a suction side, nothing will work. Now to button this up a bit. Now here's your screen and here's your magnetic core. Put it in. And you see you don't ever clean these perfect either. Like there's a little bit left. There's hardly anything in it actually. Okay, now conventional wisdom says it goes this way. Caterpillar says it goes this way. This goes up. So you put it in upside down from what you think. And it does say this side out on it. Next is this wavy washer, the spring washer. That just holds it nicely in place. Take the old one off. The old one would have probably worked, but I've had so many times that of these failing that should have worked that I just change them. Put our nuts on. There. Okay. You don't want these super tight like this. This driver doesn't over tighten them, but you can strip them. They're in aluminum after all. And there, magnetic serviced. Oh, on the power shifts, there's sometimes a magnetic underneath the seat. Especially on the 46As, I'm not sure about the Ks. Outside the engine, like this is a K, so the oil coolers run horizontal, but on the H they run vertical, and on the 46A, sometimes by the oil coolers there is a magnetic screen as well on them. However, on the direct drives on the 36A and the direct drive Ks, the one we serviced is all that's there. And I think on the power shift Ks, that same one we did is all they have too. Don't quote me on that though. Okay, here's the drain plug for the transmission. I put thread sealant on it, TF15 jet lube. It's good to put sealant on this because it's a pipe plug. The one under the clutch uses a brass ring on it. Okay, now it's time for the oil. For oil, up until the ugly cats, the transmissions use engine oil. We use 1540. You could use 30 weight. That's also fine. But because of our climate, we use multi-grade. So just stick this in good and let her pump. Because we got to pump over 120 liters of this stuff in. So fill her up, and you gotta check the oil in these when they're running the transmission. The 120 liters gets us in the ballpark, and if you have a power shift, go 140. You get an extra 5-gallon pail in the power shift that you went to direct drive. The transmissions are a little smaller, and they just don't use as much oil, so put 140 in the power shift. And a power shift you also may, if you're working in hilly terrain, you probably want to fill it a little more. So there you go, that's the transmission service. Okay, on D8s, this is where you drain your final drives. And others, like the low horse, you gotta pull the guard off the side to get them, but you can get them. So drain the oil in the final, and then we'll go from there. This plug is magnetic, and there's nothing to be concerned about. Just some fines, I'll clean it up. The oil is nice and clean. It would run longer, but we like to, because it's our main machines we make a living with, we like to change them more often. We strain this oil, and we put it in the back of the old tractors, much to the ire of our IH men probably, but that's what we do with it. So that's what I'll do with this. These here are where the filters are. I pulled 2 bolts out, and the earlier D8Hs used 4 bolts. D8s and D9s have filters on the final drives. D7s and D6s do not. So I'll pull this out and we'll change the filter. And there, I got the tub underneath to catch the oil because there is some that comes out. Actually, if your whack oil comes out, you want to put a tub under these. These will pry out, but it sometimes takes a little persuasiveness to get them. There we go. It's trying. There's no ring here that holds it up. Okay, now I got a bar here and a bar here, so I should be able to pop this thing out. It is just a screwdriver, but it'll work for this because it's not that tight, and there it goes. And out with it comes some oil. Got the filter in the vise, and I just take a big crescent wrench and I take this out. It comes apart right here. And that's all it takes through. And I'm gonna clean the filter in the Varsol tank before the housing and the hardware in the Varsol tank before I put the new filter on. There you go. There you go. I changed the O-ring on the filter on the base, and the filter number for is a Cat 1R0729. That's the same on a D8 or a D9, it doesn't matter. Put that on. I changed the O-ring on this. I didn't have a black one, but I got a yellow one, which is fine. Or should be. Tighten that up. And you don't need to tighten these much because it's only about a 1/2 inch rod anyways, so you just snug so they don't come off, and now it's ready to go back in. Yeah, I'll put the filter in now. I put oil never sees on these so they don't stick in there ever. We usually change them often enough that it's not a problem, but I like to make sure it's not a problem. Just pull them in a little bit, and there you go. There we go. The filter's changed. Now I gotta put the plug in the bottom and fill her with oil. I put sealant on the plug, on the drain plug, because not only keep oil in, but to keep water and stuff out, because you often end up walking in places where it's muddy and yucky. Okay, now for the oil. We either use 75/90 or 80/90 gear oil in the final drives. Now I know Cat recommends 50 weight, I believe, but that's awfully light oil. And we find the gear oil increases the life of the final drives exponentially over using engine oil in them. Now if you have a low horse D8H, they don't have duocones between the steering clutch housing and final drives, and they often transfer oil in them. If that's the case, then use engine oil in the final drives. And engine oil doesn't hurt them, but gear oil is better. So I pumped the oil out of a barrel and put it in jugs to pour it in. The county of Red Deer, when they operated D8Hs, they claimed that using STP with the oil, with gear oil, triples the life of the final drive. Now, consider the last time we did a final drive on a D8, it was a $28,000 touch. This stuff's pretty cheap in comparison. So pour it in. And this stuff takes forever to dump in, but it's good stuff. It's worth putting in. Lucas or STP they're both very good products for this. We used STP for years, but Lucas works equally well. It's the same kind of stuff. It's designed to make the oil stick to it's a tackifier for oil is what it is, and it makes it stick to gears better, so it climbs up the gear train better, because these are a compound gear train, these final drives. D9s use planetary final drives, and they're better. They're way better than even the ones on the Ugly Cat. is slow to put in, but it's good to add this to your oil. It really is, in a gearbox situation especially. But I put gear oil in the Lucas container when it's close to empty, and I mix it in, just try and clean it out that way. This stuff's expensive stuff, of course. This Lucas, it's not cheap, and the STP's not cheap either, so for about 25 bucks worth on each side. But if it prolongs the life of them to save $28,000 more, or 3 times over, I'm for that. So I filled it, you fill it right to the plug. Now this left final drive is done on this cap. I'll do the right final drive, I don't have to do it on camera, so. There's how you do a D8 final drive oil change in service. Well, God bless you. I'll catch you at the next video. Please like and subscribe.